Well, the moment that you wake up, your life is in the hands of fate. It doesn't matter what the time is, it doesn't matter what the date. Just ask yourself, well, will it be a clear day, or will there be mist? Will everything go smoothly, or will there be a twist? Well, all I know, however it goes, there's always gonna be days like this. There's always gonna be days like this. Days Like This by Alex Ferguson. Episode 2. The Revolution Starts Now.
Who said letter writing was the mark of a civilized man? Anyway, there's the address done. Miss Madden always said I had the best handwriting in Standard 7. She let me sit where I could look up her skirt. Maybe it was because my dad sent her homemade sausages. Top that with a golden delicious, if you can. Happy childhood days, eh? Dad, Mam and favourite son in the kitchen together. Quality time. Mam washing out the spong mincer with Persil, poking out the odd bits, feeding the dog. Top hygiene. Dad hacking up pork belly, the kid next door's pet rabbit, my guinea pig and lumps off his fingers, but it all went to make up the weight. Me feeding pig's intestines onto the sausage maker. 6 feet of condom. I mean, what kid gets the chance to do that these days? Happy days gone forever. The magic of childhood has vanished. I never did discover where our cat went. Maybe I shouldn't put our address on the letter. You cannot tell these days what they can get you for. I'll have to risk it if I want an answer. I can always blame Ray. Written under duress, Your Honour. I feared for my life. Actually, there's a whole new career there.
I was a prisoner in my own home by Norman Stanley Stapleton.
The Sun would love that. I could get Max Clifford to represent me. Now, how are we putting this? Dear. Good start. But dear what? Dear Prime Minister? Dear Mr. Brown? Go for it, Norman. Dear Gordon, how are you? I trust this gets to you, as it leaves me in the pink. Me dad always started any letter like that, in the pink. Then me mam would say, that sounds like you have no clothes on. Then my dad would write, fear not, I am fully clothed. And my mam would tear the letter up. It was only a letter to the rates office after all, asking if they'd take Granny's wedding ring in lieu of cash. Dear Gordon, you should get better photos taken, as you look terrible. Is it constipation? My granny suffered terribly, and my granda would say, has the old tortoise not shown his heed yet? And another thing, before you speak, swallow your gum. You can afford some more. Put it on expenses. Hope you don't mind me telling you. Enough of helpful hints. What I want to ask you, do we not have the right to demonstrate peacefully?
Fortunately, I don't have a broken leg.
Did you want one?
But I do have a skinned elbow.
Ray, much as I sympathise with your self-dramatisation, I am trying to compose a letter to the Prime Minister on a very important point of common law.
Huh? And what would that be? Free Guinness for the over 60s? Home visits from Dirty Gertie?
Not bad suggestions, Ray. A pint of Guinness and Dirty Gertie. Well, worthy of consideration. But no, I am asking him whether he supports the principle of a right to peaceful demonstration.
Do you know, I find it hard to imagine anything you're mixed up in being peaceful, Norman. I mean, all the bin man asked you to do was to shut the bin lid before they emptied it. There was no need to lie down in front of the wagon.
It was a matter of principle.
It was a close call whether he drove over you or not. And we didn't get the bin emptied. Next week, I'll put out the bin, and if you interfere, I'll stuff you in it.
You'd never get the lid down.
Don't tempt me. The way I feel now, I'd ban any peaceful demonstration you had a hand in.
Ray, I never thought of you as a covert Tory. Shame on you.
Norman, I have a skinned elbow because, in the dim light of the scullery, I fell over your latest peaceful demonstration. When I got back on my feet, I found I'd fallen over a placard nailed to a 2x2. On the placard it said, "Do not fall into evil." Well, I bloody did. Thank you very much, Norman.
Oh, sorry. I was somewhat perturbed when I came home. It's not been the best of days.
Well, that makes two of us.
You will notice that I am wearing my cap.
Despite the pain in my elbow, I did notice. I thought to myself, well, maybe it's just Norman's custom, always to cover his head when writing a letter. Perhaps such are the manners of yesteryear.
As I wouldn't wish to be mistaken for an anarchist or a terrorist, I decided to have my hair cut.
If only all terrorists would be so considerate.
So I went to Kenny's, treat myself.
No club or pub bouncer would go anywhere else. Is he still using the bay rum, singeing the hair with a taper?
The place has been done up. It has a new sign, Kenny can cut it. And a new Kenny.
A new Kenny?
I'm sitting in the chair while this new Kenny's snipping away, suggesting next time I go clubbing to drop in at the Bombshell, where I'm sure to score, and recommending fruit-flavoured condoms.
Whereas the old Kenny would have been tormenting you with questions about football that you couldn't answer.
When I note on the ledge beneath the mirror a collecting tin labelled "Contributions to the Staff Fund Much Appreciated."
And the old Kenny always charged extra for eyebrows and ears.
While this Kenny is confiding that his favourite flavour is pineapple, I get a distinct whiff of lemon when I realise Kenny is the only staff in the place.
Definitely a whiff of lemon.
How come you're charging me £8.50?
£8.50?
Don't worry, I took it out of the emergency Toby jug.
Doesn't the word emergency mean anything to you, Norman?
How come, I tell him, £8.50 and you want me to chuck in another quid to the staff fund, which is you? It's purely voluntary, says this new Kenny. It's fraud, I say.
Did you have to say fraud?
I shall report you to Harriet Harman, I say.
Another letter to write.
Just bear with me a moment, sir, says this new Kenny. Which I do, and he reaches for the shears, switches it on, and runs the damn thing over my head. Zoop, zoop. There you are, sir, he says. There'll be no charge.
Go on then. Take your cap off.
No way.
Go on, it can't be that bad.
No.
Please?
No.
I'll sneak in when you're sleeping.
I'll be wearing my cap.
£1.
No.
I've got to see.
No. Get off.
You look like a hot cross bun.
Fine. You enjoy yourself. After all, that's what I am. A figure of fun.
But it'll grow again. I reckon you have had a bad day, old bun.
Well, everything went downhill after that.
What, the demonstration?
It was meant to be a peaceful demonstration.
How peaceful? I mean, isn't that blood on your placard?
Ah, that was when Mr. Patel tried to kill George.
Why would Mr. Patel, whoever he is, try to kill George, whoever he is?
Mr. Patel was very upset.
But he didn't succeed in killing George?
No, Mr. Patel hit the policeman.
Oh, he hit the policeman. He changed his mind. He thought, oh, he's a policeman, I'll kill him instead.
No, Mr. Patel didn't mean to hit the policeman. He was trying to hit George. But in the fracas, he lost his glasses. Edna stood on them. Mr. Patel said she stamped on them. So Mr. Patel hit the policeman.
Hang on, I'm getting confused. Let's start again. What was the policeman doing at this peaceful demonstration?
The policeman had nothing to do with the demonstration. He was in the pie shop when he saw George hitting Mr. Patel, so he ran out to try to stop George. Ronnie from the pie shop thought the policeman was trying to leave without paying, so he came out after him and tried to take the pie back. George stood on the policeman's pie,
which he hadn't paid for.
Ronnie caught the policeman round the neck, and Mr. Patel missed George, who was on the deck, and hit the policeman, who arrested Ronnie, who hadn't done anything.
Except try to strangle a policeman.
Who hadn't paid for his pie. Then he arrested Mr. Patel.
Right, I'm catching up on the plot, slowly, but I'm getting there. So who's Mr. Patel?
A very nice Asian gentleman.
Well, how nice is he if he's trying to kill George? Whoever George is.
George is the man I told you about.
Ah, is that the George who told you that if you're ever attacked by a mad dog, you've got to stuff your arm down its throat? That fella with only one arm?
No. This is the George who wanted to buy a birthday card for this woman he met on the internet. Remember? I told you.
There are too many Georges.
Well, that's Six's King's very popular here. My mother was called George, but that's another story.
Get back to this woman on the internet.
Marie Louise. She seemed quite a stunner. George was much taken. Only she turned out to be a bloke.
I lead such a sheltered life.
Marie-Louise only dresses as a woman in private, nothing distasteful. Now, he's coming to visit George, but he's not that keen.
Who's not that keen? She, he?
George. That's what started Mr. Patel off. You don't think you put a fat war on us?
Norman, man, just tell me what happened today.
I was in the post office, sending off me 20 tokens to the Daily Mail for the continence control. Apparently when you feel like peeing your pants, it gives you an electric shock and you don't.
With an electric shock, you'd shit yourself instead. Do I need to know this?
I shouldn't have told you. I've spoilt the surprise. I'm getting you one for Christmas.
Please tell me what happened in the post office.
I posted off me tokens and I went to join George on the picket line.
On the greetings card stand, because you think some of them are rude, even though it's none of your business.
Somebody has to stand up for standards. The support's growing. 2 lady pensioners have joined us. Maisie, she's got a false leg. She'd come in on her spare leg, which gives her fair jib, to post off a regular for repair. But they couldn't take it, and they jammed in the hatch.
Whoa. I just want you to assure me you are actually telling lies here, Norman.
No, ask the post office lady who fainted when the leg came over the counter.
OK. Who's the other pensioner?
That was Edna, who was cheated out of being a councillor.
I don't believe you.
So, with Artie...
Who's Artie, a former mayor?
No, an alky.
You got a full set of weirdos.
With joined hands round the greeting card stand, started to sing, "We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Like a custard on the rhubarb, we shall not...
Whoa, and they say the Inquisition was cruel.
The customers joined in. It was a very moving moment. A proud moment. Local democracy in action. I confess I shed a tear. Then Mr. Patel came over.
Ah, at last. So, who is Mr. Patel?
He's the postmaster. A very nice man. He always has a joke when you bring in a big parcel.
You're going to tell me his joke, aren't you?
He'll say, "Are you sending your auntie back where she came from? In pieces?"
Hilarious.
Everybody laughs. He's very popular. But he said he didn't have a music and entertainment licence, and everybody laughed. We thought it was another of his jokes.
Of course. Yeah.
But Mr. Patel wasn't joking. He said, "Stop your laughing and singing. I've had almost enough of this picket line. Nobody can buy a greetings card." But the customer shouted, Shame on you, Mr. Patel. Then Maisie poked him with her leg.
Oh, she used to be a Bluebell girl.
A false leg in the private part.
Ooh, that must have hurt.
His voice changed. "Out!" he squeaked. "Out! Everybody out of my shop!" But the customer shouted, Lock in! Free stamp!
You're kidding.
George said, "It's a free country, or it was before you got here." And Mr. Patel said, "I beg your pardon." George said, "Granted." Then they started wrestling over George's placard.
Why am I never there when the good stuff happens?
Edna said, "On behalf of the Borough Council, of which by rights I should be a member, I insist you remove these vile greetings cards, or I will have you persecuted." Then Artie pushed over the greeting card stand, which fell on Mrs. Patel.
Mrs. Patel? What was she doing there?
She was wrestling with Edna.
A real family affair.
That was when Mr. Patel lost his temper and tried to kill George, but hit the policeman, who just arrived with Ronnie after him, so we had to have an ambulance.
For George?
No, for the policeman. The paramedics had a hell of a job getting him onto the stretcher. He fought like the devil. He thought he was at the Tyne-Wear Derby.
A policeman's lot is not a happy one.
Then we had to get the fire brigade to get poor Mrs. Patel out from under the display stand. All you could see was her scarlet slippers.
There wasn't a crowd of munchkins there, was there?
But she did choose some nice invitation cards for her daughter's wedding.
Aye, as they say, idle hands.
Then more police came, and I said to the sergeant, "Well, I'll be getting along. I'm due to have me ears syringed, but it's nice to know the policing pledge is working. Must be a change for you to get out in the sunshine. You look very pale."
I'm sure he appreciated that.
Then he accused me of being the agent provocateur, the greasy eminence behind the arras.
Why?
Because of me haircut.
What, they're arresting people for bad haircuts now?
A very menacing appearance, he said. An evil presence. He said it would go better for me if I confessed now to being in league with Satan.
Do you know, I've often wondered about that. Doesn't your service number end in 666?
I was handcuffed to the van, hand and foot, and they made a crucifix out of a pair of truncheons. They said that they wouldn't risk it otherwise. All because of what that Kenny did to me. They threw everybody in the van and took us down to the station. They all blamed me, and I was charged with a fray. Best they could do. They couldn't charge us under the Act of 1634.
What on earth's that?
Witchcraft.
All in all, a jolly afternoon for you.
So you're to appear before magistrates in a fortnight. I've got it all written down for you.
Me?
Well, I wasn't going to give them my name, was I?
And you're going to relate all this nonsense to the Prime Minister?
Yes, on the principle of peaceful demonstration.
Norman, don't you think the poor buggers suffered enough? Will everything go smoothly, or will there be a twist? Well, all I know, however it goes, there's always gonna be days like this. There's always gonna be days like this. Days Like This featured Alex Ferguson as Norman and Craig Lyons as Ray.